All right, Matthew, welcome to episode 40 of the Performance Advantage podcast with myself, Dr. Will O'Connor, and Dr. Matt Miller, aka MTB, PhD, sports scientist. This week on the show, we've got Matt's brake power meter update. We've got Will's training report. This week in sports that we talk about, Yolanda Neff's former world champion crash. She crashes, life-threatening injuries. We talk about coming back from crashes, Olympic, world champs, everything that's going on in 2020. And topic of the week is what you can do to be better in 2020. Shout out to our sponsors, EnduranceTrainingHub.com and SmartMTBTraining.com. Endurance Training Hub has everything you need to train for ultramarathons, triathlons, 5Ks, parkrun, anything that involves endurance. And over at SmartMTB Training, you're getting the best of mountain bike training at a fraction of the cost of a full-time coach. These platforms are amazing and we're super stoked to be working with them, so go check them out. And thanks to our sponsors, we have a giveaway for one of the members of SmartMTB Training and Endurance Training Hub, and that is a 1-year premium membership to Strava. Strava links in with both of those platforms, so it automatically updates all your workouts within the training calendar, and we will announce that winner at the end of the show. Alright, let's get on with it. Alright, Matt, what's been going on with the brake power meter? It's 2020. Are we signing contracts? Are we blowing up deals? What's Shimano, SRAM? Who's knocking at your door?
Oh, well, first off, welcome to the new year.
You too, Matt.
2020. Didn't think we'd make it this far.
Yeah, actually, as a podcast,
yeah.
Who knows?
Well, I mean, as people, really, but as a human race, we're still at it,
Yeah, man. 2020. I think I was telling you when we were at school. I must have been about 6 years old, and we had to build a cardboard city of what we thought 2020 would be.
Oh, really?
Yeah. To be
fair,
did it
look like Gotham City?
No, it actually kind of looks like Dubai.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just without the flying cars.
Ah, okay.
But we got
Dubai
Teslas,
has flying
so
cars.
it's close.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, yeah, 2020 is going to be the year of the brake power meter. I know it. I just know it. Every day when I wake up, I'm thinking, it's going to happen. This is going to be on bikes one day. But, so I guess the biggest development was, that we finally, a few weeks ago, we combined the braking sensors, the brake power meter, and some suspension sensors with Jonna from the suspension lab. And we put it all together and we analyzed it. Jonna mostly did the suspension stuff. I did all the braking stuff, and I had developed some new metrics. We're showing Sam Shaw, single speed world champion. He's EWS Enduro World Series racer. I was analyzing his braking. And what I did finally this week is I combined all the data, the raw data of braking and suspension in a POV video that Sam had filmed on the downhill track in Rotorua. So it was a super hot day, and I was just waiting at the bottom of the hill getting sunburnt the whole time while Sam was going up in the shuttle and blasting down with his GoPro. And man, that guy is fast. He's so fast.
Yeah, that video is awesome too, because that's the first time I've ever seen, I've seen a lot of your braking stuff, obviously, but then you overlaid it with the suspension, and Sam hits that double and just fully bottoms out.
Yeah.
And then there's what would you call them? Bar oscillators on each side of the video, so you can see front and rear suspension, both of them just boom, straight up, straight in the red, fully bottom out. And that's what's his travel on that bike?
He has 160 mil in the front and 140 in the rear, and he blew through all of it on this really hard landing. The really interesting thing was that how often, he doesn't use his front brake very much, especially on this track.
That was the red, right, in the graph?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of showing the front and rear separately, and he's pretty much full-time on the rear. He was 83% using his rear brake. Pretty much burnt the new rotor that I had given him to use. So I'm going to have to get a new one. Luckily, I have a shipment coming, hopefully today. But every time he used his front brake, there was a equal kind of compression with his fork. So, and it was interesting to see that when he was really heavy on his rear brake, his rear suspension moved less. So this was kind of the first time that we were able to see how much braking affects the suspension. So it either forces the suspension to move while you're braking, in the case of the front brake, or it inhibits the suspension moving in the case of the rear wheel when you're on the rear brake.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting to see, and you can see it all happening on video. And when you see it on video, it just makes everything line up really nicely, and it makes sense. So we have lots of ways to visualize now. We can look at maps with graphs, and then we have histograms, and there's different zones that we've created for the different kinds of braking. We have scores that we've created to say brake balance, your modulation score, your feathering score, how many times you brake checked, things like that. And then we can also visualize it on video, which kind of puts it all into perspective. So when you're working on your braking strategy, or you're trying to set up your suspension, if you can see what's happening on the trail, and then you look at all the different ways that we can look at the data, and all the simplification methods, it all really makes sense.
Did you ask Sam about what he thought he was doing, and then showed him what he was doing? Because he was braking it it was the national downhill course. I'm not sure if that's the same one they used for the world champs way back, but it's
no. They used Skyline for that in 2006.
Okay. Yeah. But it's a course that's hit by Brooke McDonald, the fully top world-class riders, gnarly course. And, he was on the brakes a lot more than I thought that he would be, but he was still world-class fast, you know, it would be, did you ask him because he might have thought I barely hit them.
Yeah, I think there were some parts where he kind of figured that he was heavy on the brakes. He's because we were able to show where his 3 greatest opportunities were to change his braking. So he did 4 runs, and what we did is we looked at that every single run. And it was always kind of the same few areas every time that he went down. But what he was able to do once he realized how much he was actually braking in his key opportunity, which is what we're calling it, once he found how big his key opportunity was, he was able to change that in his successive runs. Yeah. So he was able to shorten up his braking, brake a little bit harder, and the run that you see in the video, that's his 4th run. So that's a huge difference from his first one. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's cool. So what's going on? Besides that, what's lined up? How are we going to get it on the bikes? How can I buy one?
Soon, William.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Matt. We'll wait with bated breath for future announcements.
Yeah. Will's training report. Will, I know you've been training. So you've been training for the Tarawera Ultra, which I know I said that I was going to do it with you, but I'm just not going to do it. I'm bailing. But you're doing the 100K.
Yeah.
The 100K. So it's your local World Cup, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So you're a month out now, right?
Yeah, just over. And training's been going awesome. A lot better than planned with dad life.
Oh, right. Dad life. How has that affected your training so far? Because for those who didn't listen to the last episode, Will's a dad, right? So young Jimothy and
James.
Jimothy's about 3 or 4 weeks old now? 3 weeks?
Almost 5.
Oh, wow. Time flies when you're having fun. Okay. So you're 5 weeks in. So you pretty much 5 weeks of no sleep, but training's still going good. Is that kind of what's going on?
5th week. Yeah. So it was all going well because he was, pretty much just sleeping and eating involved breastfeeding. So I sort of had zero involvement with that. I really only did the sleeping part. Feeding part I couldn't help with. Now we're getting into the bottle. So now I can help with the feeding. So now we're getting into like, Emma's like, I'm going mountain biking. I've
good.
Stockpiled some stuff. I'm like, oh man, now I've got no excuse. So yeah, I'm getting up a couple times more in the night, but pretty much like we set it out. I was like, this is my goal. All right, this is February, and Emma's. I was like, these are my weekends. These are my key training days. And outside of that, because of my work-life balance, like super flexible, so just helping, just being able to get it done, really, prioritizing that training. And I guess like you just like when you would have normally done absolutely nothing, you sort of just playing around with James, chilling, calming him down, feeding him, changing him. Well, that's pretty much, those are the three things that go on at this stage, just like changing him a lot.
You just give him the iPad and he's like, yeah, thanks Dad, good to go. And then you go for a run.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's awesome, man. He's growing. Holy, no wonder he feeds so much. Like, you imagine putting on like 500 grams each week of like pure, like
pure muscle. He's pure
it's
muscle.
Not even muscle, it's like bone as well.
Holy.
It's crazy. Like, super enjoyable, super stressful at times. But that's, some people are like, parenthood is the best. I'm like, well, I'm reserving judgment just now. Like, it's just like when your child is just screaming at you and you're like, would you like some food? No. Would you like to be changed? No. Would you like to go to sleep? No. You're like, you don't do anything else. So what are you crying about? This is like, you have a good life here. And then I'm like, Emma, he's crying again. She's like, well, he doesn't want to feed. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, now we're both stuffed.
Maybe he doesn't like you.
I wondered that actually. It's like, are we all right? Are we good here? Yeah. But anyway, that's dad life in the 5th week. But training has been going awesome. We have, because I'm coaching a few people for the 100-mile race, which is 162 kilometers, as part of the World Cup as well, Tarawera Ultra. We've got this great group of people who've been banging out runs together, because so not the weekend, just been weekend before, I did a 60-kilometer run on the course. You got to do that by yourself. It's just not happening, So to be able to, like, we cruised out to the Tarawera Falls, which is a pretty amazing place, and you got to get dropped off, like, because we did point to point, because the course is point to point. So it's an hour-and-a-half drive. So you need to find someone to drive you an hour and a half just to drop you off. And you got to go into the forestry. So you got to drive for like half an hour at like 30 k's an hour, which is, I don't know, like 5 miles an hour, for our American listeners, into the forest. You got to buy this permit to get in there. But when you got a carload of people, it's a lot easier to convince like someone's partner or kid or someone to like drive us out there. Yeah. Whereas if you're just doing it by yourself, no one's going to do that. So that was awesome. I learned so much. So we did it on the course, and like all 5 of us were like, oh yeah. And more people jumped in later on along the way. And we were all like, damn, this is going to be hard. Like this, because we ran the hardest section, Tarawera Falls back into Rotorua. And, the biggest takeaway from me is as you know, Matt, love heart rate, love power. I have my zones. I have my upper limits in terms of what I know I can achieve within an ultra. And so 160 beats per minute is like my upper limit. If I'm like just going up a hill or something, I need to make sure I don't go beyond that. What I did was I was trucking along. It was all going awesome. We get to the big hill out of Okataina, and I look at my heart rate, 160, oh yeah, well this part just flattens off after this, I'll just keep pushing over. And then I flatten off, but I keep on the look at my heart rate, 159, cool, it's coming back down, 155, yep, another little hill. And it's like, so it's kind of this continuous hill for about, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, but it has little flat sections. So in my head, I'm pushing over this little bit up in the 160 heart rates, then I come back down and I'm able to get it back into the 150s, and then I'm done. Like at 30 Ks I was cracked, man. I was like, oh man, it was a hot day, middle of the day, and still had to run back, and honestly it sucked. I ran at 50 Ks, I rang my wife Emma and I was like, can you please pick me up? I was out at the Blue Lake, and she thought I'd finished, and I was at our friend's house where we were planning to finish the run. She's like, I'm walking with James, and I heard him like screaming. She's walking back from the supermarket, and I was like, look, don't worry about it, like I'll make it back. And she didn't know, like I was stuffed with 10 kilometers still to go. Anyway, I struggled home, made it back, and then was like really demoralized because I was running like a minute per K slower than what I wanted to do in the race, and I was on the course. So, I look back on my run to see like how I paced and everything. Now that section, that 45-minute section, my average heart rate was like 166 or 162, oh, wow. I think it was. And I've done this before. I did it when I ran when I was trying to go close to 8 hours, and I did like 8:30 for the 100K. And what happens is I'll set this upper limit, and then I'll sort of go over it a little bit and think, I need to come back down, but it's a hill, and I'll come back. And when I do come back, I come back to just under that upper limit. And then I go above it, so I'm not actually recovering, I'm just getting back to where I need to be. Whereas I actually need to recover from, if I'm going over 160, pretty much high 150s is kind of like that anaerobic cusp or threshold or whatever you want to call it. It's kind of a point of no return, diminishing returns, I guess, within an ultra. I'll jump over that, but then when I come back, I'm not coming back to like a 140 heart rate. This isn't cycling. I can't just like freewheel down the hill. I maintain that high or low 150s, and that really brought it home. I was like, wow, I'm only just over, like I'm not running at 180 heart rate or anything. I'm only just tapping over, but I'm not actually coming back down to recover from those.
Yeah, so you just need to take it easier. And now that, cause you should have your power from that effort, so you need to watch your effort on that hill. Yeah.
Oh man, we'll do the episode. I want to do one on power and what I've discovered with trail running and power, and it kind of doesn't work because we don't have a way to display normalized power.
Oh no.
So just quickly, like you have power, which you look at on your watch, which is like amazing. You can see effort relative to the terrain that's not impacted by the gradient or what's underfoot, road, sand, whatever. You can know your output, overlay that with heart rate, you got a good indication. But again, you don't know if you've been what your average, like if you're up high or down low within like what you need to run. So then you can put average on, but because you're on trail, you go up a little hill, down a little hill, stop a corner, round a corner. And so you start to have these like huge spikes in power. And if you're just looking at average, it may look kind of low because a lot of the time you'll like stop almost, to get around a hairpin, to get up some rocks, to get down, even on the downhills. So your average power may actually look kind of low, but you've actually had these big spikes of like 120% of your aerobic threshold that the average doesn't really show. So you think, I can keep running. But if you have normalized, there's a way to show that, I guess kind of like the rolling average of power. And we don't have that yet. And that's a major flaw within running with power and trail running.
Well, let me tell you, we have one in breaking, so maybe we can help you sort that out.
I was thinking that we can, I might license your app.
Yeah, let's do it.
Anyway, yep, so banged out. I got a half marathon on Saturday, bit of a leg tester, another 60k run on Sunday. I did 2:30s over the weekend, so averaging, like 120 kilometers, so it's about 90 miles, 85, 90 miles per week, last few weeks, all going to plan. So watch this space, and looking to get a YouTube channel of my journey into the professional trail running world. So keep an eye out for that.
All right, William. This week in sports that we talk about,
yeah,
this is kind of a big deal, and I think there's a lot we can talk about here. Yolanda Neff, so she's like ex-world champion, ex-World Cup winner, pretty much just a beast on a bike, and the inevitable happened, right? So she rides fast, and this happens to everyone at some point in their sporting career, no matter what sport they're doing. She had a big crash and a pretty big injury. So she was mountain biking, and she came around the turn that she really didn't know, just had a crash, but she fell into a pile of logs, which, can't be good. She fractured a rib, collapsed a lung, and like a big one is that she ruptured her spleen.
Yeah.
So, I always tell my athletes in mountain biking, especially, and it's the same in running pretty much, but when you're doing a sport, it's not if you're going to get hurt, it's just kind of when. And, you need to be prepared to cope with these injuries. And it's healing is one thing, but you need to be able to cope mentally with probably having some time off to allow your body to heal, which usually is what athletes really, really struggle with. So the news is that Yolanda's going to have a couple months off. So she needs 3 months to recover. She's going to have to miss the Cyclocross World Championships, which is something that she was gearing up for in, I believe, February. So that's not going to happen anymore. And it's still a little unclear what's going to happen as far as her mountain bike season, which starts in about March.
Yeah, it's also an Olympic year. And something like this it happens. It's just going to happen. You can't plan for it, but you can prepare for the worst case scenario. When last episode talking to Rob Stannard about what all the things he's trying to do outside of cycling that align with cycling, but also if it was to stop for whatever reason, he's quickly to pivot into, learning his language, studying, his different vocations and things. There's a lot going on there that he can jump into, but when it's also hard when, he talked about how dedicated he is to becoming a better athlete, and you just immediately take that away. And that's just so, for these professionals like Yolanda, one of the world's best mountain bikers, in terms of cross country and even, cross country, marathon. And you're that's your job.
Yeah.
So
mentally, that's a huge blow, because especially in a sport where being fit is number one, right? You're just thinking all this time off recovering from an injury, you're just going to get so slow.
Yeah. And
that's a big struggle. And I remember dealing with that same thing, when I was 19 or 20, training to the best that I knew how. And I broke my foot in a mosh pit, as you do. And I couldn't ride for like 6 weeks or something like that. And I just remember being so concerned that I was, going to be so slow and wasn't going to be able to ride anymore. But we see it all the time. Like, we see it with athletes, and, just this last year, I had an athlete dealing with an injury, had to take some time off, from the EWS and the Downhill World Cup. But then came back and ended up having one of his best seasons, or his best season overall. Had an athlete earlier this year with a knee injury, heading into an important race. The race still ended up going pretty well. So sometimes when I look at an injury with an athlete, I don't always see it as a bad thing, because we know how good it can be sometimes to have rest. And you can, if you just look at an injury and recovery time as increased recovery instead of lost training, because you're going to have to take time off anyway, just kind of positioning yourself mentally to kind of cope with the injury as increased recovery, can at least help you emotionally get through it.
Yeah, I've thought about that as well. And when we look at, I guess, not necessarily professionals, but lifetime athletes, someone who it is their thing to swim, ride, run, whatever it is, kayak, like that's their thing. They do that and they want to get better at it. And that's what they do as a stress relief and everything. When you do that ongoing for, indefinitely, you never have that large break, because you just, it's just your passion. And like you said, like mentally, when everything's going well, you're not just going to take 6 weeks off.
Yeah.
What the only thing you'd do would be, if you're a runner, you go, I'm going to take 6 weeks off. So I'm going to spend 6 weeks doing the equivalent amount of mountain biking or riding or swimming or hiking, like you do essentially the same thing. You just like change the way you look at it. But to be able to like be forced to rest for that amount of time, I think an overall lifetime of the athlete cycle, it goes a long way, and it's one of those things where I guess we also talked about my progression as an athlete, where it just keeps happening, right? Like just over the course of your life and your dedication to the sport, endurance rewards consistency. And so then being able to pull back from that and then reset, it's part of that journey. But man, when you're in it, it's not part of the journey. It is like ending.
No athlete wants to deal with that time off. But, like we've seen it before, like, so Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, she had to have a back operation, and it took her a while to get back, but she was world champion this year. So
that
with
was
Yolanda,
an interesting one. Like with Pauline, she was cyclocross world champ, road cycling world champ, and mountain biking world champ, all in the same year. And she was about, she would have been like 22, 23 years old. She went from the peak of the peak and then kind of like got slower and slower and then just fell apart, and then brought it all back this year with winning the mountain bike world champs. It was like, and she spoke openly about being overtrained and the pressure, and for someone like that, you can be overtrained but still try to train, but then she got that injury, and she also had to have surgery to remove like one of those arterial issues you get like around your hip area. Cyclists get them. Yeah. Then she came back, like forced recovery, and came all the way back to the top.
Yeah. So that was just over this past winter. So about a year ago that she had that. So, what'll happen with Yolanda? Will this rest be like the best thing that could have happened to her? With the Olympics coming up. So Olympics are in July. August for mountain bike. I can't remember the date, but what'll happen? Like, maybe she'll be close to peak by then, and maybe she could be world champ.
Well, this is where you see how the world's best are the world's best, right? Where you can see these athletes that have this large amount of time off, and they'll come back and they might be okay, but they'll still be top 10. You know, they're just like, that's the caliber of athlete that they are after like 3 months off. That's still uber competitive. There's a triathlete, Lionel Sanders. He what did he do? Fractured a bone in his hip, and he has a YouTube channel. Recommend people to check it out. And he just spoke really openly about like, oh, I think I'm depressed because he couldn't train, and he lives to be better. You know, this guy it's his job. He's a professional, and he talks about it openly. And now he just did a season, like a 2019 review. He's like, I think this was the best thing that could have happened to me. I'm like, he's talking about what we're talking about. Like, he realized that having 3 months, he's like, I would have never, ever taken 3 months off. And you're able to concentrate on these different areas that you'd often neglected because you're too tired. And you're like, holy, this is actually something that ended up being beneficial. You know, but you can't see that when you're in it.
I think every time there can be a silver lining, but every time it's impossible to see that. So when you're dealt these cards and these things are bound to happen, you just need to, with the best of your ability, focus on what you can control, get through your recovery, and hopefully come back stronger.
Yeah, and I'm banking. I'll put it that Yolanda will, and assuming there's no ongoing complications of like, you know, having to have her like spleen clamped due to internal bleeding stuff, that she'll win the Olympic gold.
Okay, I'm picking her for world champs, so yeah. You got this, Yolanda.
All right, Matt, topic of the week. What can you do to be better in 2020? Be a better you. Be a better athlete.
Is that a personal question?
Are we recording? I was asking you.
Oh, is this me? You're really putting me on the spot.
Go. What's one thing you want to do this year to be better?
Me?
Yep, you.
Run more often.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like, just wake up and do a short run first thing in the morning. I think it'll make a better me.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah. How about you?
Oh, man. Quit pissing around in the morning.
Yeah.
I love to, I need to write my, because we're self-employed, you know how lost you can get in the, plethora of to-dos? Trying to, schedule those out during my day a bit better.
Yeah. I hate resolutions because I think, if you're going to make a change,
just do it.
You just do it yesterday. It doesn't matter what the time of year is. And I think it's silly because resolutions never happen. But I have recently been looking for ways that I can be more efficient because I do end up just kind of getting stuck into my day as soon as I wake up. And I'm pretty much doing it until I go to bed. I need to become more efficient. So what I started to do was listing out 3 things that I want to accomplish professionally, 3 things I want to accomplish personally, and also not looking at my phone until I've, watered the garden and done those kind of things.
Oh, I just bought a sprinkler.
Wow. That is cool, man.
Yeah, that is a grown up thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's grown up because I'm stoked about it.
Yeah. Honestly, it's kind of lame.
All right, Matt. 2020, better you. We've broken it up into 3 sections: stuff you buy, stuff you eat, and stuff you do. So straight up, stuff you can buy. This is the most exciting, right?
Yeah,
everyone
people love buying things.
Yeah. Oh, can I buy something to make me better? I'll do it.
Wait, you mean there's something I have to do to get better?
Yeah,
not that interested.
We're gonna finish with that one. So
yeah, but there's something I can spend my money on.
Love it. I'll do that.
Yeah. So we broke this into two kind of subtopics. So one of them we thought was software, like things that you can buy, like computer kind of things.
Yeah.
Other things, obviously, equipment or just stuff, right? So do you have like a top computer related thing, software-y thing that you can buy to be a better you in 2020?
Ooh. What would be the...
I'll tell you mine.
Okay.
And this might help you a little bit. So mine is any training management software.
Okay, that's a good... I was actually trying to think about how I would say that, because I don't want to just plug the Endurance Training Hub, because for some
even
people...
though it's dope.
It's so sick. It's got videos. Yeah. I'm doing a webinar on it. We've got some new interesting people that are coming on for open webinars, getting the forum started up, whatever.
Yeah, it's cool. But there's others out there.
But then, like, I also leverage Training Peaks because it has a higher level of analytics in it. And I sell training plans on there with, like, a higher level of description and, like, training kind of load and stuff. So there's a lot out. And then Strava, like Strava Premium, offers some really good stats. And that's like, in terms of software, just something where you are actively managing what you're doing and just tracking it.
Not even managing it, though. Like, I don't even think you have to start at management. You just need to start at the awareness. So you need to understand actually what you do. And most people, I don't think, have a good handle on what they're doing week to week.
I think having, like, just even just looking at it and going, I'm going to recover after this week, just having that in there so that you don't, because a lot of these softwares, they show you you're improving fitness, right? Because you're training more. So if you just keep training, your fitness kind of just keeps going up, or it plateaus. And when you rest, it goes backwards. And if you haven't accounted for that, so I think just having something like, I'm going to train for 4 weeks and then I'm going to have a week off.
That's like revolutionary.
Doing something like that.
Yeah. That's like standard training.
Yeah, but we've been there. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
No one does it. Like, but if you go, okay, here's some of the numbers, they're all arbitrary kind of numbers that measure fitness, whether you want to use training load or duration or distance, and you can go, here's some of the limits, here's some of the goals, but you also need to have that one where you pull it all the way back, like to 50% of what you were doing. Whatever it is, pull back 50%. And a lot of training management software does that. And I think that's just would be the biggest thing.
Yeah.
In terms of softwares.
I think we're kind of on the same page where it kind of takes you to this heightened level of awareness of your own training. Yeah. Because for me, like I said, I don't follow a training plan, but I record everything that I do. And sometimes I'll be like, man, I am so tired. So I'll look back and be like, oh, well, I rode like 15 hours for the last like 3 weeks and all of it was mountain biking. Like, I think I should have like a lighter week and kind of chill out a bit. So for me, like it's the awareness, and for my athletes, obviously it's about structuring and like making sure that they're doing everything right. So, software, whatever you're using, use it, like upload your stuff, like use it all the time and plan and be aware. Yeah.
All right, then the good stuff, like just straight up tangible equipment.
Yeah. Stuff. Material goods.
Yeah. All right. So for me, I mean, one of the best ones would, like, a new pair of shoes goes a long way.
Like some Vans or something.
I think a lot, like, I think as endurance sports people, we're just pretty frugal. maybe not even endurance. Like we're happy to spend like thousands of dollars on a new bike, or even like traveling to an event or something, getting some accommodation, getting some, sick new wheels or something like that. But then when it comes to some other things like shoes or tires, you skimp real low. Like,
Yeah.
Oh man, I wonder if I can get 50%, these are cheap. Like, I guess cause they're consumables, right? Like you do churn through them a lot. But I think if for runners and shoes, most people's shoes are blown out and ill-equipped for the job that you're requiring of them. I think if you go, all right, I'm committing like $250 to $300. I'm going to get the latest model. I'm going to allow that budget and find out exactly what shoe I need for my race. Like, especially if you're running ultras, because you're in those shoes for a damn long time. And if they're slightly too skinny or slightly too short or slightly too raised, like find the ones. That's it.
That's pretty
mine.
simple. Like, buy new shoes. And
It sounds simple, but like, you'll live with those ones that are just a little bit off. A lot of people will. Like, I get like debilitating blisters, but they look pretty cool, and I got them on the best deal.
yeah, it's funny because I'm still running the same pair of like clapped out Salmings I got like 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was doing my plyos in them the other day. I was like, man, these shoes are clapped out. I wonder how much longer they'll last. I wasn't like thinking, oh yeah, I'll just go get some new shoes.
Yeah. See, like as an investment, how long have you had them?
Yeah, too long. There's not much left. They're definitely like falling apart.
So they last,
Yeah.
it's worth it. Yes, there's something a bit that, like non sort of like training sort of stuff related, like shoes, man.
Okay. I think I would agree with you. It's the shoes for a mountain bike, which is your tires, because I think people like run their tires way too long, and like a nice set of tires totally changes your bike. And you can do the same thing. Like you can have a lighter weight cross country style tire, and then you can have a downhill style tire, swap those in between the same bike, and it totally changes how your bike feels. And once the knobs start to fall off, the tire isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. So it's time to replace your tire. So, maybe for 2020, invest in some new tires for where you're riding and what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge investment compared to the rest of your bike. I think
It can
what I
make
was
you
actually
a lot faster as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, I tell people all the time, like, if you put downhill tires on your, like, trail bike, like, yeah, they're gonna go uphill slower, and they're gonna wear out a little bit faster. But, man, they just grip so nicely going down a hill. Our friend is sponsored by Maxxis, and I was like, oh, well, why don't you use downhill tires? He's like, oh, they just wear out too fast. Like, but you're sponsored by them. You have a garage full of these tires. You know that downhill tires are way better for what you're doing, and you're, the fittest person out there. So it doesn't matter how much slower you go up the hill because you're already faster than everyone else. Just run the tires that are going to help you. So.
And then what we should do tech as well, like,
Yeah, well, obviously a power meter. So get a power meter for 2020.
Yeah, get a power meter. Whatever sport you're doing, just get a power meter.
Power meter. Yeah.
I don't know how you do one for swimming, but essentially swimming is like kind of standardized in that you will like swim 25 meters, yards, 50 meters, yards. So swim smooth to the CSS, which is kind of like critical power. It's critical swim speed. And you just get they call it a tempo trainer, which is like an overpriced timer.
Metronome.
Yeah. That, and so you set your like critical swim speed, or same as like, FTP or, your power threshold, and you just swim and it beeps every 25 or 50 meters, whatever you set it to, so that you're swimming bang on, or, so you can you do your test and you go, all right, I'm going to swim at 80% of FTP, CSS, and that's going to elicit kind of a top end aerobic threshold session, rather than just trying to guess, like, especially within a 400 or an 800 meter swim where you do, I 20 lengths maybe over 25. I can't do that in my head.
Talking to the wrong guy, bro.
Yeah, you swimmer extraordinaire. That you don't know how you're pacing that, like you could just be going out way too hard, but you just have no idea. So that's power. That's essentially power for swimming.
Yeah, it's work. Just do work over time, and that's power. But whatever exercise you're doing, you need some way to monitor your intensity, and we know heart rate's okay, but power's super good. So just try one.
Not super consumable either. Like you're buying it for not for life, but for a very long time. You don't need to worry about it. It's like blowing out like your shoes and tires. Like you can, like I've had my Stride for, I don't know, maybe 3 years and still going strong. So that's, well valued investment. And then you've got your, top of the show, the software. You get some more analytics. Oh, now you start to understand a little bit more about what you're doing. And it starts, you just get a better indication for 2020. Like, what was I up to? What about stuff you eat?
Stuff you eat.
You said this title. What do you mean? So there must be subcategories in this. You've got like diets and you've got like race nutrition and stuff. That's where you're getting at?
Yeah, I guess like I was more thinking about something you can kind of change about how you approach your day-to-day nutrition instead of something that you can buy, really. Because, I always have athletes kind of approaching me asking about sports drinks and different supplements that they can take to get faster. And I pretty much try and just not touch it, really, because what we normally stick with is just your standard Gatorade for races, because it's simple. You can get it in any country pretty much, and you know what it's going to taste like. But I think that's not where most of us struggle, really. Like most of us struggle in the day-to-day where we're just blasting too much chocolate and going to McDonald's or whatever and having too many sugary drinks. I think that is where, we can all make the biggest change, is just eating less garbage for 2020. Having
a plan. Matt, I'm on a diet at the moment.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Now, people get, because I do low carb, right? I did my whole PhD on it, done a couple episodes on it. We'll do another episode on it, and I love it. It works for me. It's not for everyone. There's a lot of nuance to it. I know the ins and outs. I'm on it. People don't like to call it a diet, lifestyle, whatever, plant-based, vegan, throw labels, do whatever you do. I'll do me, and I'm going to call it a diet. And, I do. So,
it doesn't really matter though. That's not the part that matters, right? Like what you call it or how it's.
Yeah, how you want to identify.
Yeah, who cares?
So for me, it works. And I have a structured kind of plan about how I go about it.
Yeah, you do it for a reason.
Yeah, for the race coming up. And I'm also able, I switch off too. I can eat whatever I want. So you need those kind of times. The worst thing not the worst thing I've done, but that, one of the hardest things I've tried to do was maintain a certain level of restriction on my diet day to day for an extended period of time, because that doesn't work.
You need to binge sometimes.
You need to let loose, otherwise you're just going to feel guilty way too often. So the way I can 6 weeks, Steve Stannard, supervisor of ours, he said, you pretty much got 6 weeks. It's kind of, I don't know if he actually researched it or he just, number he plucked out. But having quite a lot of experience with myself and athletes, you pretty much do. You have a 2 week lead in of figuring out, oh damn, can't eat this. Oh, whoops, I forgot. I ate that again. And then you've got 4 weeks of full on concentration. And that's that aligns with training as well, like the decreased load and intensity of training leading into your major event. But outside of that, you can't be like, I'm not going to eat sugar at all. Like, that's just one of those open-ended things, like, I'm going to lose weight. Okay.
How are you going to do that?
Or like where does that stop?
Yeah. So what you do, and I've seen you do this, and I think it's a great structure, is you stay low carb during the week when that's your focus. And then on the weekends, you just usually you align it with your heavier days of training or your longer days of training. And then you smash out the chocolate, because I know that's your weakness. And then suddenly you don't want chocolate anymore. So you get into the week and it's pretty easy to go, well, I'm just going to go low carb and not have that chocolate, because I still feel sick from all the chocolate I ate before.
Yeah, that's a cyclic approach that I'll do, and that's more for, I guess, other less important events, or when like my diet's kind of I need to reset the level, the baseline. It's getting kind of out of hand. When I start to get into that final 4 weeks, I try to just like clean. Like, clean is the goal. And just trying to, you get that 2 weeks of lead in. If you got 6 weeks, you got that 2 weeks of lead in of like trying to like rediscover clean alternatives. Like, oh yeah, I want more food. You're like, well, actually, do I need more? I'll try a diet fizzy, like diet soda. Oh, okay. Actually, no, I didn't need more food. I just used to Christmas and New Year where just food is in abundance.
Yeah.
And so you start to realign your habits, and you're like, okay, now I want a fizzy, like a diet fizzy. Okay, well, that's not the best thing for your body because it's not like that clean. It's just like, I don't even know what's in that stuff. So then you go, okay, maybe a fizzy water, like I got a soda stream. And so you start to like progressively tune it out, and you've got your end goal in mind, like, yeah, 4 weeks, I'll blow out after that. But for me, like, I guess I have so much experience in it and monitoring diet and knowing what's in for different foods. For a lot of people, it's probably starting with that diet monitoring, like figuring out where it is, like where are you falling over every single time? Because you are you. Like, you're Matt. Okay, I know you're smashing Kit Kats. You love it. You love a Kit Kat.
Yeah, I had one in the weekend. Yeah, they're so good.
Like, you're not take a break, have a Kit Kat, have just a bro. Have a line.
No, it's a whole block. And in New Zealand, they do the blocks, like it's a proper block of Kit Kat, so I'm having, what is it, like 12 rows of Kit Kats.
Whatever it is you're having.
Yeah, like once I pop that open, it's gone. But
yeah, so you can do, so once you know, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna want to do that maybe once a week. Alright, well, might as well align it with my long ride, finishing off that. Or maybe I just don't buy it in the weekly shop.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we do. We make sure, like, we just don't buy snacks. So when I'm cruising, cause I work from home, and I'm like, when I'm thinking I'm looking for food, I'm like, well, there's actually nothing to eat cause we don't have snacks. I need to wait until dinner. So I'll just have like, water or another coffee or something.
Yeah. So. That's the biggest thing. Like, it's not what you are eating, it's what you can stop. Like, what can you stop eating? What can you cut out that just, it's just empty calories. Like, there's just nothing in there for you. It's just food and satisfaction. That's all you're looking for. And how can you substitute that out?
Yeah.
I'd say would be my one. But then, like, Matt, you say, like, a lot of your athletes, they hit you up like, oh, should I take this drink? Should I take this bar, this gel? And you say, that, get some Gatorade. It doesn't matter hugely in like where a lot of my athletes are now in ultra endurance. It matters a lot.
Yeah.
Like, there is,
especially in running,
there's no two ways about it. You can undo your race hugely by not having a plan of a nutritional plan. Now it's pretty simple, really. It's you want to be getting 40 to 60 grams of carbohydrates. It's a very safe amount for a majority of people. 40 to 60 grams of carbohydrates per hour, and you want to sort of be breaking that up over the hour as best possible. So you don't want to be smashing 60 grams right on the money, like right on the hour, every hour. You want to try
That's a lot of Kit Kat.
You want to try and break that up. So you got that. Okay. So you got your goal. Okay. All right. I want 60 grams an hour. Let's figure it out. Oh yeah, that's pretty much 3 gels for most, like that'll get you. And you go, I'll take one every 20 minutes. It's 3 20s in an hour. Yep. 3 gels. Cool. Start with that. Then find out 3 hours in, you got the shits because the gels don't, or you can't take anymore. You're just sick of that flavor. Can't handle it. Now you need to find something else, so, or maybe you need to break it up.
Are you just keep hinting at Kit Kats this whole time?
Eat it. Yeah. They're a bit dry.
Break it. Yeah. Like,
well, I mean, yeah, like I use Snickers and Mars bars. Again, available worldwide, super cheap, super digestible. They're designed to like
super dope
influence like your whole taste, esophagus, like everything about them is made to be digested like as quick as possible. So you just keep eating.
Yeah. Heard that.
And so they're great. They come individually packaged. They're about 15 grams. Got a little bit of fat, which for ultras is good. You got your hydration. So playing around with that and actually having a plan, the amount of people that go in like with no real plan of like how they're going to go about eating or drinking. And even I'm sure some of the cross country athletes, Matt, and enduro athletes, they could be out all day. They still need to have like an actual structured plan about, well, what am I going to require?
Yeah, especially when you're out for a long time, it gets even more and more and more important. So yeah. Yeah,
that's one of the things I work on with athletes. Like, okay, we've done all this training. Like, how long between aid stations? Like, how long between stages or stuff for you guys? That would kind of be the stuff you eat category covered.
Yeah.
Stuff you do, Matthew.
Stuff you do. This is probably like the least interesting because
tuned out. Everyone's like, I don't want to do anything.
I'll just fast forward to the competition, see if I won my prize at the end.
Buying stuff and stop eating stuff I can handle
for like a day.
But then like having to actually do something, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we broke this one into 2 categories as well. The first one was recovery, and the second one was training.
Yeah.
So both of those things, they're obviously pretty important, right? So I think we should start with recovery, and the biggest thing that you can make a change in for 2020 is to make sure you're just getting enough sleep.
Boom. I was going to say the same thing.
Oh, we're on the same page. Yeah, look at that.
I was like, oh, what is he going to say? Sleep.
Well, I wasn't going to say foam rolling.
Drinking water. Sleep.
No, man, it's sleep. It's like
going
sleep
to bed
is
early
when it happens. Yeah.
Going to bed early. Man, that's been like, because we have like Emma's at home on leave, and like I've got a flexible lifestyle, so we've been able to juggle James as best possible so we get time off and stuff. But sleep's been the biggest impact. There's like, just even if you can still get 6 to 8 hours when it's broken up into 3 different lots, that's made a huge impact as compared to when we'd go to bed early and still get up early because of just how we roll. But man, that's showing me how much sleep impacts like what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So like when you're sleeping, like that's when you're recovering, right? So growth hormone is kind of released in spurts at different times throughout your sleep cycle. And this is kind of the only time that you get this much growth hormone released at a time is when you're sleeping. So if you cut out a few hours of sleep or whatever, first off, you're getting less time to do nothing and relax and give your muscles time to regenerate, but you're also getting less release of these anabolic hormones. And I guess the recommendation is 6 to 8 hours a night. Like, how much sleep are you getting a night? I'm definitely getting 6. I can't remember the last time I got less than
Well, I used to
8. Really?
8. Now it's probably more like 6 because I'd be up for an hour at some stage or in bed later. Depends on what James decides he's up to. But 7. So I have a book which I recommend, the New Science of Sleep. This guy breaks it down and he considers a lack of sleep to be the new smoking in terms of the impact it has on people's health. So a lot of people will say the gist of the whole book is people think that, oh yeah, I can sleep 5 hours a night and operate. And you can, just like people say, I can smoke and I can still do my daily activities. But it's the compounding effect of a lack of sleep on health, blood pressure, recovery, cortisol, which is stress hormone, resetting that, overall mental stability. All of these things, when you get less than 7 hours, was that sort of threshold barrier. Now this is average. Some people are going to be able to exist below that, but for the most part, if you can get more, you will do better. Sleep is kind of that one thing where we, in the modern world, we're trying to cut it out, right? We're trying to do more. We're trying more screen time, more light, everything like that, where we need to be prioritizing sleep.
Yeah, we're just jamming more into the day.
Sleep is something that needs to be prioritized, and 7 hours appears like it's the barrier. That's the threshold we need to be getting over to ensure that metabolically and biochemically we're resetting our baseline so that we're able to get the recovery, continue to smash our cells in training throughout the day, and just mine would be getting to sleep, like switching off the gadgets and the screen time, putting a blue light filter on, and just trying to get into bed. Like, you get there as your first step, you'll get some more sleep.
Yeah. What do you think about naps? I was listening to a podcast about napping, and it kind of said that humans weren't really made to be awake for so long throughout the day. A bit like animals, where they always have a nice siesta. Or, animals will sleep in the shade at the hottest part of the day or whatever. And throughout human evolution, that's probably what we did as well throughout the hottest part of the day, because sometimes it's just too hot to be out there hunting or, gathering berries. And in some cultures, this is still really widely accepted. And I know, at least, where I was working, we didn't just take a pause in the day and just have a quick nap so that we were more productive later on. But what do you think about napping?
Get it if you can. I just don't, the majority of people aren't in the situation where 3 p.m. they can shut it down.
Yeah. I wish it was. I wish it was a thing.
Same, I think productivity would go up. The just general creativity, responsiveness, because we all know we're all human. We get out there, we get after it in the morning, and by mid-afternoon, we're like, all right, I'm done. Unless it's something like you're super concentrated on and you're just in the zone. For the most part, I'm like, oh man, I'm toast.
Yeah.
I'm done.
But then later in the evening, you're like, oh yeah, I'm ready for this.
Yeah, or you preserve it until the next day and get after it again. But Unfortunately, it's not the case. Right?
Yeah, I wonder if it ever will be.
Well, they're trying to say that the GDP, like gross domestic profit or productivity of product of like South America, where the siestas are like a thing, is in decline or is below par due to siestas. And so potentially, right? Like if you're thrashing someone, you can get more done if you don't sleep during the day. Right? Like if I ask you to do a task, like, can you please get this done by the end of the day? Because I'm paying you. You'll probably be like, yeah, I can do that. Whereas, yeah, if you take 2 days to do it just because you want to have a nap in the afternoon.
Right. But I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is what we actually consider a work day. But that's probably a different topic.
We're definitely losing.
Yeah. But
losing it. Sleep.
But sleep. So yeah, just get more sleep.
Get more sleep. All right, then stuff you do in training. Training, Matt.
I think we're going to say the same thing for this one. More easy training.
No.
Oh, you're not going to say more intervals, are you? No.
Harder, faster.
What?
No. Technique.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, I like that one too. Can I change? No, I'm gonna stick with it.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially with mountain bikers, like every time you go out mountain biking, you end up going a bit too hard. So if you're mountain biking a lot, make sure that you're taking it easy. And that way you can continue to mountain bike a lot. Because mountain biking is inherently hard. And it's just not sustainable. If you keep going, you're gonna either hit a plateau or start to overtrain. So just ensure that you're doing plenty of easy riding and then save the going hard for the times when you're really going hard. And I think for 2020, that is the biggest change that you can make.
So like polarizing.
Yeah. Yep.
Polarizing.
Exactly.
That works well with the software, like tracking your training.
Sure.
Getting a performance, like monitoring software. Grab that and be like, oh, yep. Once you know that this is too hard and this is easy, let's try. Let's play around with it. Let's go hard and easy.
Yes.
It's cool. It's cool. There's a good one. In line with that, because I was just running with an athlete and he had 1 kilometer laps on his watch. And in training, like your general run or ride or something, I think laps are like the most, like you don't need to be looking at anything really. Like if you're doing an aerobic based session, 1 hour, hour and a half, 10 kilometers, whatever it is, you need heart rate and time. Yep. And that's pretty much it. Like especially for running, because as soon as you start to, we can have power in there as well, because you can set those upper limits. But sometimes you're tired and those limits are too high, and you might get fixated with them. But as soon as you start having like pace, or like, even for mountain biking and cycling, speed, like, oh, well, I normally average 30 k's an hour. I'll just, it's at 28, I'll just go a bit. I normally run 6 minute K. I'll just, that beat comes up, and you go, oh, I'm going pretty well. You don't want to go slower now. You don't want to go less than what you've just seen. Turn that off. Turn it off. Have a different, you can have like, I use Garmin, love it. But I've used Sunto as well for running, and Lezine for cycling. And you have different settings. You can have like, you got run, you got interval run, you got trail run. Have like general run or something like that, where it's just so the screens that come up and the settings that are in there aren't like performance based. They're just your casual setting.
Yeah. Just still record it. Still record everything.
Obviously.
So your coach can see it and you can look back on it later. But yeah, you don't need to be looking at that stuff all the time, especially on an endurance pace.
Yeah, because it gets it. we've been there, man. Like, it gets too addictive.
Yeah.
Like, you just want to be faster or as fast as your best one. Like, your best aerobic run even. Or like, whatever it is. Whatever that benchmark is. Yeah, and so mine's technique.
Okay.
For sure. And not specifically going out there, spending like hours on trying to improve, like at a specific aspect, but being mindful of an area of your technique that you want to work on within a certain part of your training session. You know, if you know you're wiggling all over the bike when you do your sprints.
Is that a term?
What?
Is that a term you invented?
Wiggling all over your bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know those.
Oh, yeah.
Like
we should
bobbing.
get a wiggleometer. I'm picturing it now. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, because they just start. Those riders are just trying to put weight down on the pedal from one side to another to try and elicit. They're not like specifically targeting the muscle recruitment pattern of like fourth generation. It's just, how can I throw more weight on each downward stroke, which creates huge dead spots on up and down. Anyway,
wiggling, obviously.
Yeah, so that's technically termed wiggling. And running, it would be swaying. I do this.
Swiggling. When
I get tired, rather than like essentially, you know, drawing my arms back and forward, I'll start to sort of sway them, and then your legs kind of get a bit of a swing gait. They're not drawing through correctly, so your foot placement's a little off. You can, on the trails, you can just nip something, you can fall over. You're using more energy, your stride length is shortening, the way you're impacting on the ground's increasing. So the load's going up, more impact on your legs. So just, you know, and then when I'm going down hills, my upper body like tenses. I get really tense because I'm like stressed about falling over. It's trying to, you know, just small things like that. Like, what can I do? If you know you do something that's could be improved within your training, try that. Focus on that.
Yeah.
Get a video on YouTube, watch something that's going on that you know, you're like, oh yeah, I keep getting, you know, real sore glutes. What's that? What could that be from? Sore glute running, sore glute cycling generally is from this. Oh, okay, I'll try that next ride. Those can have like really big improvements in your performance. That's something you can do without having to like do.
Not everything's about just getting more fit, right? Because in everything that we do, there's heavily technique based, and if you need to take a real hard look and determine like if technique is really holding you back, then it's definitely something you need to focus on. And there's lots of things that we focus on in technique all the time.
Yeah, and there are some things that would be more ideal, whether that's strength training, stretching, massage, you know, like stuff you do. But if you're not already doing them, you're probably not going to just start to integrate that, right? Like it's with that stuff, you're like, oh yeah, I'm sitting in front of the TV. I should really get the foam roller out, or I should stretch my hamstrings, or I should do like some muscle recruitment, like leg stability stuff. You're just going to lie on the couch.
Yeah, we know that one all too well, don't we?
Yeah, like do it, 100%. Like do it, if you can commit to it. But there are easier ways for something you can do that I would recommend, and that is getting amongst the technique within your training. Yeah, well that does us, Matt. That's a good one. Looking forward to you knowing you in 2020.
New year, know you.
All right, Matthew. So our prize this week is a Strava Premium membership. This is to help one of you monitor your training more efficiently, in like the easiest way, most accessible way on Strava. So we've purchased the Strava Premium membership, got the coupon code, we're ready to give it away, and we're giving it to Matthew, please.
Drum roll, please. If your initials are JM, please send an email to coach@smartmtbtraining.com to claim your prize.
Ah, yeah. Forgot we're supposed to do initials. I did the whole name last week. Oh well. Shout out Cam.
Yeah, well, I guess I just didn't want to, maybe some people don't want their name on the radio.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
oh man, I don't want to let people know I listen to these guys.
Yeah, because sometimes training's not cool, so be like, oh, now people know that I'm training. Well, don't worry, your secret's safe with us. So JM, send us an email, coach@smartmtbtraining.com, and if that's your initials, we'll see if it's you.
We'll get you that code. All right, Matt, you have a good start of 2020. I'll catch up with you next week.
See you in 2020.